Hello, everyone. Claire Jones from Clarifications Coaching. My mission is to help badass entrepreneurs grow their businesses without burning out. So this is the next video in a series where I go over the tips and tools and strategies that I use both in my own business as well as in my clients' businesses. And these are basically just how-to videos of how to use those tips and tools. And so today I'm going to be going over networking. This is a hot topic, lately because so much has been moved onto the online world when it comes to going out and meeting people. So a lot of people are lost as to how to get out there and get talking to people when it comes to in-person networking. And so I'm going to go through a bunch of the businesses or organizations that I frequent when it comes to networking in person, as well as some of the online tools that I use. So we're going to start off on this wonderful place called Meetup.com. It always surprises me that people have not heard of this before, but it is a great platform for all kinds of events. So if you have an interest in anything, you can probably find a group of people on Meetup that are also interested in it, and they probably have some meetups for it. So it's basically just a platform where groups of people can post events for other people to go to. Sometimes they're free, sometimes they're paid, depending on how they want to structure it. But you can find everything from knitting groups to coffee groups to beer groups to hiking groups to D&D groups if you're interested in playing Dungeons and Dragons, board game groups. There's even a couple like regional groups like Ohio Transplants in Seattle, that kind of stuff. But there's also a grade of work networking groups. And so you just sign up for a free account on meetup.com and you can search through all of the ones that are in your area. And so as you can see here, this is my homepage on my Meetup account, and it will show you your next event at the top of it. My next one is a mastermind co-working group that I actually host with the Women's Open Network, which is one of the networking organizations that I'm a part of. And it's a free networking group full of women who are badass and community focused. So that's a great one if you're in the Seattle area. But in the search box, you can put anything you're interested in, and then you can even choose the mile radius. So maybe you're interested in going 25 miles out. Maybe you're always already going to 100. Or maybe you just want to say 2 miles in your own neighborhood. And then you put in the city that you're interested in too, city or postal zip code. And so I usually look within 10 miles of Seattle, Washington, because that's usually a good distance when it comes to Seattle. It takes, depending on which way you go in Seattle, there's a lot of traffic that you have to deal with. So 10 miles sometimes takes 40 minutes to an hour. So I always want to make sure that my driving time is around 30 minutes, if not under 45. So I always search for business and stuff like that. So they give you categories suggested, but I'm going to start with career and business. And it will just show you based on the day, both in your groups and suggested groups. You can join them, or you can just look at all upcoming events. And first off, Tuesday, November 26th, which is today, there is a Seattle Startups Open Coffee. It was already earlier today, so I missed it, but that's something that you can go to. Eastside Entrepreneurs Networking Referrals and Opportunities. That's a great one to go to. That's later today. Tomorrow, there is a I Take the Lead group. So I Take the Lead is another networking organization that I've spent some time in before. I believe they're all over the country. They stand for ITTL, I Take the Lead. And these tend to be smaller groups. I've never seen a group that's over 10 people. So it tends to be intimate, tends to be small, tends to be really supportive. They meet, I believe, every week, usually at a coffee shop or at a restaurant in a neighborhood. And so there's one in Ballard, there's one in Greenwood, there's one in usually every neighborhood if you're in a big city. And I went to one for a while. I believe the cost to join them is pretty low. I believe you're only paying about $25 a month. That's at least what it was when I was going, but it may be a little increased based on the event rental fees for the space that they're using, depending on how they have it set up, whether you get lunch during it or breakfast or just coffee. It depends on the group, but that's a good one. And it's not a position or industry exclusive. There are some networking organizations that, if you want to join, only one person out of a certain industry is allowed to be in the group at a time. But I don't think I Take the Lead is like that. Most groups aren't like that. So you do have better chances if you are in a popular industry or somewhere where you would have a lot of people looking for networking groups in your industry. So that's a good place to go if you're interested in in-person networking groups. And there's all kinds of stuff. Seattle Business Networking Meetup Group. On Thursday, that's interesting, on Thanksgiving, there's even groups. Friday, Black Friday, there's even groups. So they even have net workout groups if you want to work out with networking opportunities, Young Professionals of Seattle. So it's really great. Meetup is a great platform to start your networking look, or search. Sorry, looking for the wrong word there. And so another popular group is called BNI. And that's called National. And this is one of the most well-known working organizations. They've been around for a while, and they are a really in-depth, structured networking group. This is one of the groups that has industry exclusive spots. So they only have one spot per industry person in each of the chapters, but there tend to be a lot of chapters around there. They're all over the world. And even in the Seattle area, there's probably about a dozen. So each neighborhood usually has a chapter, and some neighborhoods even have multiple chapters, depending on how many people are interested in joining. And this is one of the more expensive groups. They have a yearly fee, I think, of around $600, as well as a monthly fee around $50, depending on the chapter and depending on their event rental fees for that chapter. But it is really in-depth, it is really structured. They are really referral-based, and they really have a lot of expectations, and they have a lot of quotas if you get involved. And so you are expected to have one-on-one coffee dates with the other chapter members. You are expected to pass referrals to the other chapter members. This is for people who are very involved in their communities and talk to a lot of people on a daily basis, and people who work in businesses who run off of referrals a lot. So you can go to bni.com, go to find a chapter. There's probably one in your area. I'm guessing there's definitely one in your area, if not multiple. And they also have a lot of resources too, and a lot of online training that you can access as part of these. But if you're interested in joining, you can visit one of them as a visitor just to check it out. And you need to find a chapter that works for you. Each of them have their own vibe and their own community feel. So just visit a bunch of them, find out which ones you like, find out which ones have openings for your industry category. And as you can see here, there's 265,000 global members in BNI. They make $11.4 million in member referrals. There are 9,324 global chapters, and they have 16 billion member closed business for the last 12 months. So it is worth the money if you are looking for somewhere to put your money when it comes to networking, but there's a lot of free groups out there as well. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. So the ones that I'm involved with are the eWomen Network. And this is a network that is focused on women entrepreneurs, and it is a great organization. They are similar to BNI, but they only have a lifetime fee. And so when you sign up, I think it's around $300 to $400 for the lifetime fee. And so you only pay that once, but then you have a monthly fee that's around $20 every month. And that does not change based on the chapter. That is static across all chapters. And so they are mostly in the US, but they are slowly expanding in international networks as well. I believe we just opened up one in Australia, and I think there's one in New Zealand and Germany coming soon. And so their mission is to help 1 million women entrepreneurs achieve $1 million in annual revenue. And so there are over 500,000 women and men entrepreneurs connected through 118 chapters across North America. And as I say, that is now expanded to more countries. And so they have a lot of resources online. They have a podcast network. They have a conference every year, which is awesome. I went to their conference in July. I was actually one of their emerging leader finalists for their award that they do every year. They pick a young woman aged 21 to 29 who has demonstrated excellence in academic, philanthropic, and entrepreneurial activities. And they choose across the US a few finalists to send a conference every year. And then there's a winner. And so I was one of the emerging leaders for this year. And so that's also a great organization if you're interested in that. And they do accept men as well. It's just based more so and focused more so on women entrepreneurs. So that's just a little bit of a overview as to some of the organizations I already know about. But Google is always your best friend. So networking groups in Seattle. Google it. See what comes up. It's easy as that. And so events will show up, network after work, join the most successful free networking events, speed networking in Seattle. Eventbrite has a bunch of networking events. There's all kinds of stuff. Meetup shows up here, Young Professionals of Seattle, hot Seattle networking events. So just Google networking in whatever city you're in, and I'm sure stuff will come up. So next, I wanted to talk a little bit about what to say when you're actually networking. Because when you're networking, you need to show up professionally. You need to show up in a way where people learn to like, know, and trust you. So I'm going to fix my camera real fast. There you go. So what's your elevator pitch? That's the thing that always people want to know when they first meet you in a networking context is, can you describe what you do, how you serve people, and what you offer in 30 seconds or 60 seconds? And you really need to be concise. You really need to be targeted, and you really need to be able to talk about what you do in a concise way so that people can understand what you're giving, what you're looking for, and how they can help you. Because networking is really about who you're connected to and who you can tap into, who you can have coffee dates with, and who you can have on as partners, who you can have on as clients, all kinds of stuff. So when it comes to crafting your elevator pitch, I always recommend that you format it in a sentence that says, I can offer blank to blank so that they can blank. So you identify what you offer, who you offer to it, who you offer it to, and what they achieve from that. And so if you can narrow it down to one sentence or less in a way that helps them, my camera's not sticking today, in a way that helps them understand what you're offering, who your ideal client is, and what problem you solve for them. That's the best way to network and get involved with networking. So if you can boil it down to a sentence, that's ideal. And then you can elaborate. So if you say, I offer plumbing to people in the West Seattle area so that they can sleep soundly and not deal with leaks and not deal with all these other problems that they have in their house due to plumbing issues. That's a example of an elevator pitch, because then you can move on to what you're looking for. So maybe you're looking for a connection to a general contractor, and maybe you want to create a strategic partner connection with someone who uses, man, my camera's not cooperating today. Someone who uses plumbing services all the time. So that's an example of how you would show up in a networking context and tell them what you do, who you do it for, and what problem you solve for them, and then what you're looking for in networking. So that's a good way to approach that. Also, you can network online. And so there's a bunch of different apps that you can use that for that. One of my favorites is Bumble. I know usually people know Bumble as a dating app, but they actually have 3 different modes. They have a dating app mode, they have a friend mode, and they have a business mode. And so you can actually use Bumble Biz is the name of the business mode, and you can use that to network online. And you can create a little profile and you can swipe left or right on people who you are interested in networking with. And it's a good way to connect with people in a way that doesn't really force you to go out of your house, get dressed up, put on pants. I work from home, so I understand the struggle when it comes to having to put on pants. But at any rate, that's another tool for you. And so when you approach these people, whether online or in person, you need to be able to communicate what you offer, who you offer it to, and what problem you're solving for them, and how you want the networking conversation to go. Remember, you are not just pitching when you do these things. You're not just pitching. You're not just spamming. You're not walking into a room full of people and being like, hey, buy my shit, because people get turned off by that. People want to build relationships with you. They want to know, like, and trust you. And so you can provide value. How can you educate who you're talking to? How can you build credibility with who you're talking to? How can you build familiarity with who you're talking to? And how can you position yourself as an expert with who you're talking to? And usually when you meet people in person or online networking situations, you invite them to a coffee, or you invite them to a lunch meeting or something like that, where you can actually get to know them better. You can get more in depth than that short conversation that you have with them at the networking event or on the networking platform. And so think about ways where you can craft your elevator pitch. And it always helps to start with something big and then narrow it down into the specifics. But this will help you with all marketing efforts, because the whole idea of an elevator pitch is that you're able to tell it to someone when you're stuck in the elevator with them. And you have a short period of time between floors. And so how can you concisely, directly, and succinctly talk about what you do, who you provide it for, and what problem you solve for them? So words, I offer blank to blank so that they can blank. So I offer a service or a product to your ideal customer so that they can solve a specific problem of theirs. And then people will be a lot more primed to then talk about your business to someone else. They'll be a lot more primed to then go to their friend who is having the problem you talked about and be like, hey, I met someone the other day and they fixed the problem you're having. Do you want me to connect you with them? And that's how networking works. So I just wanted to do a short video today to talk a little bit about networking and how to find networking groups and how to interact in networking groups. And just a quick tip too, remember to show up professionally. Do not show up in sweats. Do not show up, even people who are professional trainers show up in sweats a lot, and they have stains on them. They have rips, they have tears, and I just don't recommend it. And you can put on jeans. You don't have to have a full 3-piece suit, but look nice. Show up professional. Show up as if they are judging you on your first impression, because that's what people do. So if this doesn't answer your questions, hit me up. Let me know what additional questions you have. But I hope this helped give a brief overview of how networking works and how you can approach it better. And if you have any more comments or questions, hit me up. And that's it for today. So love you all. Take care and have a good one.